Hello, beautiful souls. Elena Fouché here. How do you stop absorbing negative emotions? That is such a good question. So many of us that are really sensitive have this question. And I'm going to offer you two reframes for this. One in this video and one in another. And so the reframe I'm going to offer you for this question in this video, I like to call pulling. So here's the reframe. What if you're not passively absorbing emotions? What if you are actively pulling them in? So the difference would be like, you're not a dry sponge in a wet bucket just accidentally absorbing all the negative emotions that are floating around you. Actually, you're more actively inviting them into your system. So the question is not how to stop absorbing them. The question is how to stop pulling them in, right? Okay, so this is a little bit challenging. So put on your I'm a big kid hat. I'm an adult and I'm willing to take responsibility for myself, because that's really what's needed here for this idea. So what if you, like many of us, have things inside of you that you're not providing yourself? You have some empty holes, some voids inside of things that you are not providing. So maybe you lack self-love or self-confidence or self-assurance, something like that. And because you're not providing it for yourself as a social animal, what if what you're doing is going out and looking for it in other people, asking them to provide it for you, right? You are actually going out and inviting them to give you what you are not giving yourself. So you're asking for love, you're asking for assurance, you're asking for confidence, something like that from other people. So in this case, you are pulling it in, inviting it in. That's all fine and good, except for two problems. One, it doesn't really work because no one else can replace self-love for you. No one else can replace self-confidence or self-assurance for you. That's the self part in the beginning, right? You have to bring that for yourself. You have to nourish and nurture that for yourself. So as long as you're doing your best to bring it in from outside, it never works. The other thing is that you end up, of course, inviting in not only the attention that you want, you know, the assurance, the love, the confidence, you also invite in everything else from the people around you, all of the negative emotions as well, right? So yeah, they're going to give you self-love, or they're going to give you love. They're also going to give you a bit of hate. They're going to give you, you know, all kinds of stuff. You're happy about the love, you're not so happy about the hate, and this is the challenge, right? You want the difficult, painful ones to stop, but you want to keep the positive ones. Yeah, it's kind of a problem. So if the issue here is really not that you're absorbing emotions, it's that you're pulling, then the answer is not to stop absorbing, it's to stop pulling in. And if you're pulling in, if you're asking for things from other people because you don't have them yourself, if you're going to stop asking, then most likely you're going to need to start giving it to yourself. Like, that's actually the answer to this question. How to stop absorbing negative emotions is to stop pulling them in and trying to fill whatever you're missing, whatever you're not giving yourself. So I'm going to give you an example. I used to pull a lot because I wasn't very confident. I didn't have a lot of confidence in some areas of my life. And underneath all of that was a lack of self-love as well. But confidence is easier to think about, so let's think about that. So I would go out and, you know, I wanted to be invited to things as a way to, you know that I'm a good person. I wanted people to say thank you and please and be very polite to me as a form of respect, you know, so I felt like, okay, I'm a respectable person. I wanted people to say, yay, we're really glad you followed through, like just all this kind of stuff, right? And so I was constantly hunting and looking for and asking for this kind of input, this kind of attention, which, you know, it didn't work. Like it never replaced self-love. It never replaced self-confidence. And the other thing that it did was I ended up getting all the other stuff I didn't want too. And so I'm hypersensitive to other people's stuff because I need it so bad. And I'm getting the positive and the negative. So that was really challenging. So what I needed to do in that case was to start to understand, why am I pulling? Like, why am I so demanding this attention? Like, what am I not giving myself? What am I not doing? And so I went on this whole journey to understand how to build self-confidence, which turned into how to build self-love for me, right? That's a big, long journey. But a really good way to start all of this, if this is making sense to you and you're like, okay, where do I start? Is to start looking around at your relationships and feeling into, like, what are you getting out of them? What are they giving you? And a nice way to understand that is, imagine not getting it. Imagine not seeing your friends, your coworkers, whoever you're pulling from. And how do you feel? Do you feel a lack of confidence? Do you feel a lack of love? Do you feel a lack of assurance? What do you feel, right? What's missing? And that's a really good way to start down the direction of what do you need to give yourself. And then there's the journey of, how do you do that, right? How do you give yourself, how do you build self-confidence? There's a lot of different ways to do that. Just start there. Just start with, what am I missing? What am I not giving myself that I'm doing my best to get from other people? All right? I hope that helps. Let us know how it goes. I would love your thoughts on this. And it, of course, the whole community will benefit as well. Take care and see you next time.